Welcome to episode 4 of Save Nightlife, a visual podcast presented by Egg London, discussing the cultural importance, but also the extreme difficulties facing venues like Egg all around the UK due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As a reminder, Egg is currently running a crowdfunder campaign to help keep the club afloat during this period. If you can spare anything, the link to donate to that is below this video. On this episode, I'm joined by two international DJs, hit record producers, and they both do a little bit of radio as well. Corry and Majestic. How are we doing, guys?
Oi. How's it going, bro?
All good. It's the Saturday Night Kiss crew here, isn't it? All of us.
It actually is, isn't it?
We're in together in a room at last. Your radio is covered from 7 till 1 in the morning from us. You got a lot of radio there.
There's a lot of radio in the building right now.
For sure.
How have you guys been? How's what are we on lockdown 3? How's it going for you both?
Yeah, I mean, I've just got back from Dubai, so I was out there for a gig on New Year's Eve and just stayed for a little bit. So, but yeah, back home now. So it's obviously snowing outside. So I've gone from sunshine to snow.
Slight change in temperature.
The tan is fading already.
He's still probably got his top off though, regardless of the snow. He's still doing the workouts outside, isn't it? You are, Joe. Come on.
It's different out here, though.
Tremendous.
I'm going up and down in the snow like Rocky 4, bruv. Like.
Yeah. Punching cows. Yeah, lockdown 3.0. This is the last lockdown. It is. I'm putting it out there. They try and lock me down again, brother. I am not complying.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been difficult for everyone, hasn't it? Really, and obviously for nightlife, especially. I mentioned it on Sunday Brunch when I was on there the other week about the nighttime industry association and everything they're doing, and then obviously. We're talking about Egg tonight, and in particular, all the venues that are struggling themselves. It's just very difficult, man. Like for us, we've got radio, we've got music, we've got production, but for venue staffs, etc., there's just no light at the end of the tunnel and no real sort of route back, no journey, no map for them to go. Okay, cool. At least I know on this date it's ready. So yeah, it's difficult for everyone, isn't it? Really, but you have to feel in particular for certain sectors, and obviously the nightlife is something that we're all passionate about and something that we've always sort of campaigned for, and we continue to.
Yeah, I mean, last week, I think the Nighttime Industries Association made a statement saying that 81% of venues would not survive February without assistance from the government. Like, yeah, what would it mean for you both personally if these venues just stopped existing?
Well, obviously, I've been a DJ since I was a teenager. It's what I've done my entire life. I started club DJing when I was 16, 17. I've been a resident since I was 18. So for me, it's just like, it's unbelievable what's going on. And it's been a big change in my life to not be playing in nightclubs. And it's my passion. It's the thing I love doing most is performing. So it's daunting. It's so sad. And yeah, just fingers crossed. That. It just, as Madge said, I know it feels a bit doom and gloom, but you just feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel at the moment. There's no plan of a date of when we're going to open again and get back doing what we love, and it's just terribly sad.
I think Joel's bang on there as well, and mine and Joel's careers are quite parallel. Obviously, Joel's had incredible success. Congratulations, Joel, on the #1 record of last year as well. By the way, mate.
Thanks,
massive
brother.
Look. But yeah, we have done the graft, and what I say by that is, those late nights in Preston at 1 in the morning in a venue with no one in it, for example, or, playing in Rudolph's, the Tottenham or Opera House. Like I think me and Joel have probably played every club in the UK and Europe, like in terms of like the Greek islands, etc. So we have been there and we've done that. And especially from all the touring that we've done, we've become very close with promoters, venue owners, venue managers, bar staff, security. And, there's a whole heap of people that are being affected by this. And it is so difficult not having that sort of plan of action to come back. And, the fact that, pubs were allowed to open, for example, and some of them were doing like socially distanced events, but clubs weren't. And, as I go back to the point we're making about Egg tonight, Egg is an iconic nightclub in London that has provided the soundtrack to not just the people in the UK's weekend, but people from all over the world. And this has been my argument a lot of the time when we have been forgotten as an industry, being the 5th biggest, contributor to the economy, the nighttime events industry. We are being left behind and we're being forgotten about at the detriment of our own economy. So, you think how many people come over to the UK tourist-wise and end up in Egg? A lot of them. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's a really international club.
It's an international club. It has international lineups, and it's up there. It's Fabric, it's Ministry, it's Egg. Egg is in that top tier of nightclubs in London. And, the thought that to go back to what is presumed as normal without something like Egg not being there is a future I don't want to think about.
Yeah, I mean, Egg for me is my local spot. I live in North London, and I spent many of the nights, to the early mornings raving in Egg.
Sunday mornings.
And since the lockdown, I've done some live streams there, and it's been amazing working with the team there on the live streams. And yeah, it's incredibly sad to see what's going on. And I'm praying, man. I'm praying that that this nightmare will be over soon, and hopefully it can survive.
And you mentioned the live streams you've been doing at Egg, Joel. What's it like being in the club, just seeing it so empty?
Do you know what? It's for all live streams. I've had to adapt doing the sets. You're literally just doing it in front of a camera or down a webcam, and it was so weird at first, but it's the only outlet we've got. So I've just tried to stay positive and just give my energy towards the sets. And, when I'm on getting recorded or whatever, just trying to give those positive vibes, but it's definitely not the same. I miss my crowd so much, and being an Egg and there being no crowd there at all. It's bizarre, and it almost makes you miss it even more because you've got this amazing sound system around you and the whole room is shaking and just dropping bangers. But the realistic truth is there's no one else in the room and it just feels so weird. So yeah, but it's important though. I think that the live streams for me have been important, not only to sort of give people, something to watch, on the weekend when they've got to stay in, but also for me as a DJ as well to sort of stay on my toes and keep my craft going.
It must be difficult, Joel, obviously having the record that you had last year, which it's got to be up there with one of the biggest dance records in the last 10 years. You know what I mean? It's huge. It was a huge record internationally. For you not to have that opportunity to go drop that on the dance floor of Egg, peak time, and everybody's singing, it must hurt a little.
It's incredibly painful, man. I've had sleepless, I'm not gonna lie, I've had sleepless nights about it. I mean, me and you, mate, we're both resident DJs for our whole life, so we're already missing this big, it's a piece of my heart. We're missing this huge thing in our life that me and you have done since we were teenagers.
Yeah.
Like you said, we've rigorously toured for years and years and years. We both know those long nights and the drives and the going around the country, and obviously, having this record, Head and Heart, and not being able to play it to a crowd, it's so sad for me, man. But again, I'm staying positive. I feel like I'm very lucky. There's people in such a worse situation than me. So I'm a positive person. So I feel very blessed to be in the position I'm in. And I know that there will be a time when I will be back in front of a crowd and I will drop that track. And even if it's another year on, I don't know when it's going to be.
It's still going to go off.
It's still going to go off, and it's still going to be a special moment for me, man. So I'm not going to let things get me down.
You both touch on the fact that obviously you guys have been doing this for your whole working lives. I'm guessing you've never seen a situation like this ever before where there's just been no clubs and no kind of sight of when they'll be back.
I can't think of this amount of time I've ever had off DJing or touring. I don't stop. This is the thing. I've had arguments with managements and agents in the past asking me to do less for more money because you're in that kind of position of your career. But for my own heart and my own mental health, I was like, no, I'm going to play that gig because I love to DJ. Do you know what I'm saying? And
Mate,
that's the same as you, Joel.
Me and you are exactly the same. We have got the same mindset there because I will DJ 8 nights a week if that was possible. and in the summers we've grafted those residencies, and I think in summer 2019, I think in the space of 4 months, I did something mad, like 102 flights. It was ridiculous, when I stacked it all up, and people were like, you're crazy. Like, why, how can you do this? But it's for the love of DJing. I generally love it so much, and it's all I know, man. It's what I've been doing since I was a teenager, like I said. So I'm 32 now, man. So I've been doing this literally since full time since I was 18. So me and Madge are the same on that respect. And, I've never ever had this amount of time off ever, since I can remember.
Yeah, and we touch on live streams. Obviously, you've both done a fair share of live streams over the course of lockdown. Madge, in particular, you're a particularly technical DJ. That's I guess a style that you can watch it well on a stream, but a big part of that is being in the room and feeling the kind of hype around it. Do you feel like it's possible to translate that through a live stream?
I know exactly what you mean. Do you know what it is? I'm old school in terms of, you know, like Joel said, he's 32, I'm 34. You know, DJ EZ's like my hero. Like let's have it right. Like Zed, I can't give enough props to DJ EZ. He's one of the best DJs I've seen and had the pleasure to MC for. I was EZ's MC for a while. So, you know, and you watch him and he's so technical, and it is the thing. People used to literally stand by the decks with their mouths open watching Zed. That's what people do when you go to a club. You know, James Hype is kind of in that sort of vein nowadays, but James performs to the camera, right? And what I mean by I'm old school is like Zed doesn't perform to the camera. He performs for the crowd and himself when he's getting like the shoulder skanks and that. I'm very much like that because I literally was having this debate with someone earlier on. I said, like, we're in this sort of vein now where DJs are like looking to the camera and like like miming words. I can't get on with that. Like, I'm not that guy. Like, we laughed about what guys we are. Like, listen, I'll have a laugh and a banter and whatever else. But when it comes to music time and mixing, I'm serious. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm Kurt. I'm just serious producer DJ, right? So it's hard for me to like be in a live stream environment and come to the camera going like, oh, come on, let's go. Yeah. Like, I'm not that person. So it's so difficult to then get that across in a live stream. Like Joel said, you have to give a certain level of energy to that. And it's a conscious energy. When you're doing that in the club and you get lost in the mix when the crowd are there and you start giving it the old DJ eyeball pole, like you're in front of the crowd in amnesia, you know, that you don't feel stupid doing it. Do you know what I mean, Joel? Like, you don't feel
mate, 100%. I'll be honest with you. You know, I do the live streams. I have to have a few drinks. And I don't really drink that much when I DJ, but for the live streams, I have to have a few drinks just to make me flow better. Because it doesn't feel right. And another thing that I struggle with as well is like, I like when I like to play, like I have residencies, I like to play extended sets, you know, and build a journey when I'm playing house music. And that's difficult to do on a live stream because you know, you kind of vibe off a crowd and take the crowd on the journey. And you're trying to take that journey all on your own in front of a webcam, and you kind of get lost a little bit, and you second guess yourself. And I've had moments where I've done live streams and finished it and just actually felt quite down afterwards. And I've sat there and just gone, I feel down because I feel like I didn't feel right to me, didn't flow right, but it's because there's no crowd. So yeah, that's another part of it that, yeah, you can't really build a journey. I don't think my proper journey on a live stream, there's no crowd, there's no vibe.
Yeah. So let's just go back to Egg there. Just talk me through your journey with Egg as DJs.
I'll let you start, Joel, because obviously you've been doing the live streams with him.
Yeah, so obviously, as I said to you, Egg is my local spot. I live in North London, and as soon as lockdown happened, you know, we reached out to Egg, and they were up for me going down there and doing a live stream, and it was the first one I actually did when lockdown hit last March, and yeah, obviously, you know, I wanted to do it because it's my local space and it's somewhere that I've been raving for many years myself. And then obviously, you know, we all thought the lockdown was going to finish in the summer. And that's what I thought. I was like, this is going to be over in the summer, you know, whatever. And obviously it didn't. And then I, you know, obviously heard about the troubles they were having and saw how it was all unfolding in the UK for live venues across the UK. And I just maintained that relationship with them. And we did another live stream after the summer. And, you know, anything I could do to help them, you know, I want to do whatever I can to help Egg survive for sure.
And it seems like Egg is kind of a pivotal club for so many people. It's like particularly people when they come to London, it's like one of the first clubs they go rave at. Like, was it a big part of your kind of, when you first started going to raves, was Egg part of that journey for you?
Well, yeah, it was always kind of like, because I live nearby to it, it was always that place for the boys, you know, like, oh, should we just go to Egg for a few hours?
few hours.
Listen, you end up at Egg. Don't matter what your night out is. Like, especially on a Saturday night, it was ending up at Egg for the breakfast on the Sunday. By the Sunday, you know, like Space, when everyone talks about Space and the terrace at Space, the terrace at Egg is as legendary in London to people. Do you know what I mean? The outdoor space that they had, you know, back in the day, that's where you'd end up. And it was like literally... I'd finish a rave at Scala because I used to play at Scala in King's Cross a lot in like, when was it, 06, and you'd go past Egg afterwards and people are queuing up, and I'd never forget being in the queue of Egg, and there was a bouncer and he'd come past, he goes, if you are uncomfortable around drag queens or like homosexuals or whatever, please leave. You're not welcome. Do you know what I mean? It was like a really encompassing thing. That always stood out to me that night when I heard people say that. Like they're telling people like, you know, this is what we're about. This is for everyone. Everyone's welcome through these doors. And it was just like, it had its own vibe to it. Do you know what I mean? People would, from all over London, not just North London, go to Egg for have that late night session. And yeah, like when I eventually got to play Egg, it was a big moment for me. When I headlined Egg, like that was like a real moment of my career. Do you know what I mean? And that was special because again, it's one of those clubs that you can tick off. Bang, headlined Egg. Do you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, it's just I think I've played every room there, every single room, and there are a few rooms in Egg. Like, and sometimes you go even to this day now, like when I go in there, I'm like, where am I tonight? Like, I don't know where I am. Like, you can get lost in there. It is. I liken it to the Wonderland for Alice in Wonderland when you go down the hole. Like, if you've had a night out and you end up in Egg, you've gone down into Wonderland.
It definitely feels like, I mean, everyone that's been on this series has said kind of exactly the same. It's a DJ's club. DJs love playing the club, and it seems like that club has played a key role in every DJ's kind of journey, whether that's as a raver initially and then as a DJ at some point. So let's just go back to Madge. You were on Sunday Brunch the other week, and my favourite part about that was watching you eat the cheese. But
clock, I'm not a cheese man, right?
I mean, you had a great straight face on, but yeah, I did clock it. But
the bits of water straight afterwards gave the game away, I think.
But you touched on there, and we were touching it already today, about how it feels like this has been a bit of a forgotten industry. In this kind of pandemic. There's been a lot of support dished out for some industries, parts of the economy. Seems like this sector has been totally overlooked, almost deliberately at times.
100%.
Why do we think that is? Because there's no economic case for it.
No, there's no economic case for it. So you then ask yourself, you know, it depends on how far down the rabbit hole you want to go, because obviously there's so many layers and layers and layers to this. And the thing is, everyone is in such different places. You know, when everyone says we're in the same boat, but we're not in the same boat though, are we really? I see a very funny picture earlier where there was like a beautiful like ferry boat, and then there was like Castaway with Tom Hanks on that wooden raft that he made, and it said people on furlough, self-employed. And it was just like, it is, you know, we're in the same boat in terms of we're all indoors and whatever else. However, we're not in the same boat in terms of economical support. So nightclubs, especially, and venues, you know, when you're hearing the likes of the Deltic group being in a position where, like, you know, they're on their knees, for example, which is one of the biggest chains of nightclubs in the country, and clubs, again, that me and Joel have played a lot of, and, you know, which is always sometimes other DJs have turned their nose up. But again, because we love DJing, we're like, no, I'm going to play that club. It's a nightclub with people in it. What are you talking about? I don't care. Like, obviously, that's why when you get to play the Eggs and that, and they're deemed as the cooler clubs, we love it because they're like, right, I can go and show off now. So why it's been forgotten? I think because if a load of lads from Eton are running the country and haven't had a sesh in Egg ever in their life, their business is done over going shooting foxes in the forest with their pals. They've never done that. Like, we are working class people. Do you know what I mean? I'm a working class North London kid. You know, I cut my teeth in the nighttime industry at Rudolph's nightclub. Yeah, I learned more in Rudolph's than I did ever at school. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like life lessons, like there's some stories. Do you know what I mean? I have stories about nightclubs. I always see it as my university. These nightclubs were my university. I didn't go uni. I could have went uni. I didn't. Like, I had my path in my head mapped out, so I knew what I wanted to do. So if something doesn't mean anything to you, why are you going to support it? It doesn't mean anything to you. You've never had a moment in there of where you've met your wife or your husband, or you've made best friends with people. You know, some of my best friends now are people that I've met going out or DJing somewhere in that energy. And again, this comes down to a real spiritual point of view, which is all we are frequencies and energy. You know, when you're around someone who's got good energy, like, oh, he's a nice guy, man, he's got good energy. Like, people don't realize that that's the thing. And when you're in a nightclub, bunched up together, feeling the frequencies of the bass line and the music, and you're singing, it's raising your frequencies, it's raising your vibration. Hence, on the radio, I use that term, raising the vibration of the nation, because that's what music does for us. So these people have never been in that situation. You think Rishi Sunak's ever been down Egg on a Sunday, having it off? Like, of course he hasn't. So if it means nothing to you, why are you going to support it? As you said, economically, it makes no sense. So for me, a lot of this is my personal point of view. whether people want to agree with it or not, and that's absolutely fine, because I'm in that place where I can have a discussion with people, unlike this social media war that we have now, which is just echo chambers of hate. I think we need to discuss and learn and educate off one another. Is that every single person, like whether it's Egg, whether it's DJs, whether it's the bar staff, the bouncers, our industry is its own economy. It's its own thing. It's very hard to tax as well, and they've always been sort of at war with it. So for them, not nicking money from the nighttime economy and whatever else doesn't mean anything to them. Like, oh, it's all right, you know. They can do a live stream. They have no idea. Like, if you don't experience something, you can't tell someone about it if you've never experienced it. That's where I'm at with it. So yeah, I just think it's the lack of experience from the people running the country and understanding how important it is for people's mental health as well. And that doesn't mean anything to them.
That was going to be my next question, Madge. You speak, you know, quite openly on socials about the mental health impact of not being able to see your mates and not being able to have these experiences with your mates. It really feels like lockdown 3, I don't know about you guys, but it's lockdown 3 has dragged and it's been hard. I feel like people are struggling now.
Well, yeah, as Joel said, Joel was in Dubai, and I was lucky enough myself to get out into Dubai because I had a bit of work to do out there. I popped in, popped out, got in, you know, with all the precautions that was needed, like, because you have to, you know, got to take all the tests and whatever else. However, I think you got to remember this. Lockdown 1, we was all on board. We was involved. They promised us 2 weeks to curve it, to just 2 weeks. And we all gave them our trust and energy. And it was nice. The weather was nice. We was all in the garden. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like,
that made a huge difference, didn't it?
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Wasn't dark all the time.
Exactly. This time round, it's simple as this. I've done every Zoom call I can possibly do, every Zoom quiz I can possibly do. The weather's terrible. It's cold. You know, the vast majority of the country are untrusting of the government because they move the goalposts all the time, and their reaction to things have been very poor and very slow. So straight away, whereas the first lockdown, myself included, was going, "Come on, Boris, lock us down. What are you doing? Come on!" Like, and literally, I remember watching his speech when I was on my decks in here, and it was very wartime. Churchill, like, "Come on, let's do this together." Now it just feels like we're being told off all the time. Like, and there's the adverts and stuff that you hear are very, again, back to energy, as Joel said about, you know, we talked before this of trying to block it out. It's just like, because I'm in the car earlier on and every other advert was like, "Is your journey essential? You could kill someone." So they're placing a lot of the blame onto us. And as empathic human beings, I don't want to hurt anyone. That's not what I'm about. So that's where it's getting everyone. Joel, I'm sure you feel the same as well.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I've struggled with is, you know, obviously I'm into my fitness, and I've definitely, you know, I was lucky enough to go away. I had a booking for New Year's Eve, so I was lucky enough to go away to Dubai, but before that, you know, obviously the gyms have been closed for a good, you know, month before I left, and just being able to, when I went to Dubai, being able to work out again, I just felt like myself again, and you know, that's been the biggest impact on my mental health. It's a big part
of you, Joel, isn't it? Like that you know, that gym, the fitness side of you is you. It's a part of you, and it's a part of you that's missing.
It's what keeps me ticking, you know. Like it's hard. It was really hard for me, obviously, to my main passion in life is my DJing, and you know that was a massive thing that got taken away from me. But then when the fitness got taken away, and I couldn't work out, and that it was like a double blow, and I did struggle with that. You know, I did. So. Yeah, it's just like being back here now again, obviously, like back in the house and still, you know, there's no, it's cold, as you said, it's not even hot outside. So it's like, it makes it feel even worse at the moment. Yeah, it's horrible, man. It's horrible. We just got to try and mentally stay strong and battle through this. And I'm just trying to block it out. Almost got into like a robot mode of just trying to feel like Joel, just hang in there, keep going. Like hopefully we'll get some positive news of some restrictions being lifted. And yeah, for me, man, if we could just at least get some fitness stuff back open again, that would definitely help me a lot mentally.
And touching on the positive stuff, if you've both had hugely, you know, successful years with big releases, have there been any positives to take from lockdown? Has it made you spend more time in the studio that has maybe, you know, you wouldn't have otherwise had the time to do? I'm guessing with the touring schedules.
100% for me, especially. Yeah. Like, as Joel said, we're always on the road. Like, so a lot of the times I was finishing stuff on aeroplanes and stuff. So to be in the studio and be able to come up with things, like the track I showed you earlier on is because I wasn't gigging on that particular night. So I was in my studio, vibes in. So, you know, that is the positive.
Yeah, that's been the silver lining for me, obviously. Like, you know, off the back of last year, I know that I would have like Maj said, I can't say no to a gig, so I probably would have got back on the road and just toured and toured and toured. So to not be able to do that and just be forced on like focusing on what the next step is in my releases is definitely giving me the time to sort of like home in and get the next the next single right. And I'm lucky that I've had that time to do that. But yeah, I can't wait to get back to DJ, man. I've got such an itch for it now. So just hurry up and open up.
Yeah, let's hope that the comeback is great, because we actually do have a potential to have like the summer of love once again. Do you know what I mean? And hopefully, I know as a DJ, the moment I go into the decks in front of a proper crowd, not a socially distanced one, a proper crowd where you can lick your mate's face if you want to. Oh, right?
It gives me goosebumps thinking about it.
Honestly, I'm thinking about like, what's my first tune going to be? Like, what am I going to start with? Do you know what I mean? Like, when we go to Ibiza and Ibiza's normal again and I play a tune in Ibiza, I will cry. I'm putting it out there.
I think I will do, man. Even picturing it now is making me feel emotional and giving me goosebumps, man.
Because it is so important, man. It's just such a beautiful way of connecting with people. Music is the international language of love. Do you know what I'm saying? It is it doesn't matter what language you speak. I remember being in High, like, and I think Fisher was on like last summer, and I'm there on the dance floor, my arm around some random Italian dude, going like, hey, like, just vibes in. Like, it's just so. Like, when you let yourself go in music, man, it's therapeutic, it's healing, it's everything. It's so important, and I think, I'm definitely going to appreciate it even more so. Like, Joel said, 102 flights last year, whatever he did. Some of those horrible flights in between Greek islands are not good. We have done some horrific traveling. However, you look back at it now and you go, I'd do it. I'll take the middle seat. I'll take the middle seat with two people next to me right now.
I know that one positive out of all of this is, like, I will never take anything granted again. I'll never moan about a late night. I never did anyway, but I never would ever moan about a late night again, about a travel schedule. Just get me back out there. I'm desperate. And I just think that's another silver lining from all this, is that I realise how lucky I am to do what I do and earn a living of what I get to do, Do
you think we'll see a bit of a reset now then, as a kind of, as you said, everyone's suddenly feels a bit more grateful for what they got, but also, it looks like perhaps you'll be able to travel and DJ within the country, but before you can do it internationally, is it going to change the industry?
Well, I think obviously those that survive this will come back stronger. Do you know what I mean? So like places like Egg, as long as we can keep it rolling and going, they'll come back and it will be so big because people will want to go to those iconic spots again. So, I think we're looking at it slowly opening up sort of at home on home soil. And then it growing and getting bigger. We just have to wait and see. That this is the problem, is the waiting and seeing and not knowing what's next. I think, we've got to look at somewhere like Dubai and big them up, because they managed to control their cases. And like, I know everyone was digging out the influencers and social media and stuff for being out there, but the fact of the matter is they didn't have many cases. There was more cases in this country. So when Joel was still out there was more cases over there than here. So him being there is actually safer than it would have been here. So the fact that they're going, right, no, this is an important part of our industry, and they're very, very aware of that. They're like, no, we need to make sure this is open. Obviously now they've put a couple of things in place to just slow it down for a little bit, and then they're going to come back. I like that, because that gave me hope. And then you look at New Zealand, obviously, Sub Focus and all that. Holy Goof was on tour out there, and you look at their stories. I was jealous as sin, but I was hopeful as well, because that means, you know what? If I have to move there, I will move there, bruv. Like, that's where I'm at now. If I have to move to go and do what I do, I will go.
Bring me with you.
Yeah, Joe, we're there, mate.
Yeah.
One thing that I think seems to almost have weirdly benefited from this situation, and you will be quite familiar with it, is radio. Does it feel like this year has been a bit of a reset and people have fallen back in love with radio again?
I think with radio, people have realised how much soul is in radio in this time. And I think, again, back to taking things for granted, like radio got taken for granted. It's noise in the background. They got adverts. I go on Spotify and play what I want. Yeah, there's nothing an algorithm can reproduce that is from a human emotion. Do you know what I mean? So when we're doing our shows, as you boys know, on Saturday night, it feels like a moment. It feels like an energy. Do you know what I'm saying? And we play, so if I throw back to a Kiss Street tune and it comes on within the mix, it feels like a moment. And then I talk about it and go, I love this one. Forgot how good this was. And then people are like, so did I, Madge? Do you know what I mean? It connects people. There are a lot of people out there. And I took this for granted as well, obviously, being married with children. At home, like, my house is busy. there's people out there on their own. Do you know what I mean? In flats and stuff with no outdoor spaces, and they are literally 4 walls, prison like right now. So to hear that voice on the radio, like when me and Joel did our Christmas special together, we had people from all over the country send us voice notes. It's like, and I love it's Barry in Yorkshire, like, and Steve from Liverpool, and Sarah from Essex, and it was just great. Like it felt connected. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you got to think, like, people can't go out on the weekends at the moment. People can't go out, so they listening to radio and having a Saturday night in has become the new going out. So it
Those
has
kitchen
become
raves.
Yeah, kitchen raves, man. Like the tweets I get, and people are locked in on Saturday Night Kiss, and they're literally having a rave in their kitchen. And I know it sounds mad, but people even doing their hair off and just having a bit of a night in on their own and having a few drinks on Zoom with a few other people and putting the sets on. But this is, it's lucky. I feel so blessed that I'm in a position where I can give that to people on a weekend. And for me personally, my radio show's become more important than ever to me because it's my residency on a weekend now. I'm not out DJing in clubs, so I'm like looking forward to doing my show on a weekend because that's kind of like my one night a week that I'm DJing.
It's also proven as well, I don't know about you, Joel, but like when we go back to normal and our touring schedules are crazy, we can produce our radio shows because we're all working from home and sending in our shows, that we can actually do it even when we're touring. So obviously you was doing your show from Dubai. I did, a show from Dubai as well when I was there. And it's like, I can send that in and it still sounds vibesy and it's not a problem. Because I know from before when I was doing Saturday nights, when I, first joined Kiss, and my touring schedule got so crazy that I couldn't commit to doing Saturdays anymore because, the boss at the time wanted me to be live. We now have the argument to say, hey, I was pre-recorded for the best part of the year. Like, if I need to take a week off or 2 weeks off, I'm sure we can cope. Do you know what I mean? I think it has given us a little bit of power there. Like, because the argument now is, I homeschooled for a year and home recorded. Like, come on, give me a bly here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you think that will change radio? Kind of, I don't think there was ever a situation ever before where so much nationally broadcast radio was done from people's houses.
Yeah, I think that it applies to all workspaces and industries. I think the working week of 9 to 5 is going to change forever. My brother works, he's a city boy. He works in PR, and he's working from home now. And he was like, when it goes back, he doesn't think he'll ever go back to doing 5 days a week now and having to do the commute every day because they've realised that you can still be as effective and have a better, standard of life and not have to do that commute every day. And yeah, I just think maybe there is some positives like that have come out of this that we've realised. Yeah.
I think a couple of days a week, like for example, it'd be lovely for a position to be where you can go, right, I can work at home for 2-3 days and then 2 days I'm in the office just to have that connection with other people. I think that's proven, like I said, in the workspace, the effectiveness of people working. They can be trusted to get on with things. And a lot of people have said, actually, I get more done because I'm not being distracted by someone in the office coming in and talking. But, I personally, I always used to go up to my show really early on a Friday just to catch up with everyone in the office at KISS because, especially as specialists, we're not there every day. We go in, do our shows. But I like to be a part of the team. I like, I'm proud of being part of KISS. We all are. Do you know what I mean? And like, I'm really happy with the direction that we're going in. I look, you had Sam on here the other week as well. I look at our lineup now and I'm really proud to be a part of it. And for me, that is a massive, massive thing because, listen, my other love in life is football, yeah? And all my analogies go back to football. And I just look at KISS now as like a football club and go, the signings that we've made, like we look like a Real Madrid now. Whereas before we were looking a bit like a Barnsley. Do you know what I mean? And the signings that we've made is great. Like I'm not that guy. Like I don't want to be there on my own and be like, oh, like I'm the only one that's got a specialist show. Haha, like because that's what the case was before. Like I was literally the only one on the FM. Like literally before like Joel started doing the Thursdays and how everything was changing. Everything was on Kiss Fresh and Kiss Street. So to be on a team full of people like Sam, like Joel, like Gorgon City, Deadmau5, SKT, like we got so many names. I've not mentioned even a tenth of the names we've got now. Yeah. So that landscape's really changed and hopefully people stay engaged once we do go back to normal and I'd like to think people will be like we're their sort of mate that stuck by them, and it's like we back them in their moment of darkness. We were there for them, so don't forget us when it's all easy and you can just flick on Spotify. Don't forget us is what I'm saying because we were there, and Joel will testify this. Doing a pre-rec is hard. It's long, it's hard, it's annoying at times, waiting for things to export. It takes up more time. Going into radio, because we managed to luckily get the Christmas show in together, up the studio, went in, bosh, back to back, bit of fun, couple of hours, done. When you're sitting there trying to do your links or whatever, or you're producing bits, it takes forever.
Yeah, it could take you up to 2 days sometimes because, I'm quite OCD about my stuff. So I need to double check it's all exported properly. And then, my show's a 2-hour show. So I listen back to the whole thing. If there's one little thing wrong, I have to go back and change it and listen to it all again. And it's ag. And, obviously when you're in the studio, it's different because you're just boshing it out.
If you make a mistake, it's gone out anyway. Whereas when you can fix it.
Yeah, it's worth it in the end anyway, man, because it's I'm proud of the show that I do, and it's I'm lucky to be in a position, but yeah, it is a lot of work every week to do it.
Yeah, but good work at a time when we can't do kind of real clubs.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you both so much for coming on. If I could just ask you for one final kind of message to people at home who are umming and ahhing about the state of clubs and stuff at the moment, and looking forward to when we can go back to normal. What would you say?
Start.
Yeah, I mean, my message would be I'm a very positive person. So I know it's so hard sometimes to hear it, but just got to try and hang on to the positives and know that those good times, they are going to come back again. And when they do, we are going to have the best parties of all time. I dream about it nearly every single night. And sometimes it doesn't fit. It feels like it's out of reach, but it will come back. It will come back. And when it does, man, we're gonna celebrate together.
Yeah, my thing is when we do come back is we will need your support more than ever. If you stayed at home to save lives and protect the NHS, when we can, go out, go rave and protect the nighttime industry. What we lost, now's the time to go and give back. And, because we're not actively, literally saving someone's life, we are. In other ways, in terms of, I know I sound like David Brent, but we are in some ways in terms of the moments that we give people, that relief to someone that has been at the bottom all week and felt like absolute rubbish, gone out, had the greatest night ever at somewhere like Egg, and gone, you know what, that one moment there, that's given me a bit more energy to go for another month. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever else it is. And those moments, I look back to my childhood and my teenagers, especially, of going out and partying, walking out of Opera House at 6 a.m. with the shirt undone and all that. And it's just I can never recreate that moment. I can never get that energy back, but it's a memory that I'll have forever with my friends that I did it with, and we still reminisce about it. So once we do go back to normal, that's literally going to be my promo tool. Remember lockdown and you couldn't go out? You can go out now, so buy the ticket. Literally, that's going to be my promo.
You've got no excuse.
There's no excuses. You're not locked down. You come out. I don't want to hear any excuses. So yeah, literally, if you love raving, actively support it, because that's the other thing as well. People do lose a bit of touch, and they actively hand money over to the likes of Amazon and Tesco's and Netflix and Apple, all these multi-billion pound companies, and they begrudge 20 quid. I'm paying 20 quid to go there. It's like, well, look how much you paid for Netflix for the last X amount of time. You didn't have any qualms about that, but you care about giving an independent nightclub some money. Come on. Do you know what I mean? That's my message to people. It's just really do support local business, and nightclubs are 100% one of those things.
Majestic, Joel, thank you both so much for coming on. For everyone watching at home, if you can spare anything for the Egg crowdfunder, the link is below this video, and I'll see you next time.